And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, I'm just going to explain why Joel Embiid was getting booed by the French. And it was so bad that this actually was brought up in headlines. Joel Embiid booed by the French spectators. That was the headline. They literally made a headline for Joel Embiid getting booed. It doesn't sound like it's a big deal, right? When you just think about it, because it's oh, okay, it's just they're just rooting against the United States because they're the biggest threat. No, it was mainly Joel Embiid because it would make sense for the French to boo against all of the other basketball teams that are playing in these Olympic Games, because the French and the French national team, they have the most ridiculous home field advantage throughout the entirety of the Olympics. Everyone in France knows Victor Wembanyama, everyone in France knows the French national team, and everyone is super excited to, represent, to feel represented in the Olympics. So they're going to try their best to feel represented in the stands as well. That's just something that you're going to see in every single time that a country hosts and their country is playing in the whatever kind of competition the country is playing in. So for basketball in particular, there's going to be a lot of French fans in the stands, and they're all going to either support Victor Wembanyama or they're all going to boo Joel Embiid. So I'm going to go ahead and basically explain why Joel Embiid was getting booed by so many of the French fans, aside from the fact that he was playing some of the worst basketball of his life right now, which is not an exaggeration. He's playing horribly now, honestly. It's really people are wondering, why do the French not like Joel? Why is he getting booed so bad? So Joel Embiid's, it was really down to Joel Embiid choosing his United States jersey and his United States citizenship over his French citizenship. Yeah. He's from Cameroon, so he has his French citizenship, and therefore the fact that he's not playing with France is just seen as, it's seen as relatively weak. You could think of it as how would I put this in NBA terms? I mean, yeah, sure, why not? You could think of it like Kevin Durant leaving the Thunder and going to play with Golden State. You could think of it that way. Because, or you can even think of it like LeBron leaving Cleveland and going over to Miami and playing with the Miami Heat. I feel like that might be a better comparison, because LeBron, he was born in Cleveland, and he was a lot of people expected him to be on the Cavs forever, and so when the going got tough, he ended up deciding to form a super team. But I think it's more similar to Kevin Durant, where it was Kevin Durant wanted to win, and Joel Embiid, he also wants to win. He wants to win gold this time. Kevin Durant wanted to win rings. So, you just jump from one team to another. And one team that is, really, really close to your country and, to you as a person, and close to so many other people. People were expecting that Joel Embiid was going to get paired up with Rudy Gobert as well as Victor Wembanyama. That is what the French audience believed at first, right? And that was the thought process going into the Olympics for all the fans. And so when he just completely abandoned ship and decides to go play with the United States, it was just seen as him, taking the easy way out. Erica Johnson in the chat totally understands. He jumped teams, and I mean, obviously people get why he jumped teams, because they want an easy way to win the Olympics, and playing for the United States is an easy way to win the Olympics without a doubt. However, I'm not going to say that the French team is bad. Of all the teams that could threaten the United States and their gold medal, the French, they're one of those teams. And if they had, and this is without Joel Embiid even being on the roster for the French. So if they had Joel Embiid on the roster, he might, not only that, he might actually play better on the roster because he would be seen as much more of a scorer on that team as opposed to on the United States playing. But he would also be paired up with Victor, and they would have had a field day in the paint, just getting rebounds and scoring the basketball easily, all that stuff. And with him not being on the team, not only does it make France's road a little bit difficult, but it also seems it seems just a little bit weak coming in from Joel. And what makes it even worse for Joel Embiid was when there was news that broke out that he actually he actually confirmed it with the French president of basketball that he was going to play for the French team in the next Olympics. This was before he got his his citizenship and was able to play for the United States. He was saying yes, I will play with the French national team. He didn't verbalize it, but he wrote it in text. And there was a previous segment that I did that was that elaborated everything that he said on text, but he promised, it was an empty promise, but he promised that he was going to play for the team. He was going to play for the French team. And him choosing to, just back out of that is just, it's seen as even weaker, and it's seen as just, there's more dislike behind Joel Embiid's actions now than there would be if, he never confirmed it to the French president of basketball. That is just, no, that's just not it. And there's a lot of just dislike towards him right now, especially with how he's playing on the United States. I can't even lie, he is not playing the best basketball at all for the United States. And Erica Johnson in the chat, do you know the 1992 men's Olympics team was called the Dream Team? Of course I knew that that's what it was called. That's arguably the most popular Olympic basketball team in the history of the Olympic basketball teams. I also know that in 2008 they called that basketball team the Redeem Team, and I know in these Olympics right now the United States is called the Avengers. So they give themselves a lot of, the internet gives themselves a lot of nicknames for these rosters and these lineups, and you have the Dream Team, then there's the Redeem Team, and now the Avengers, because and they all sort of they all have the meaning that of, or a reason why they were called this or why they were called that. So 92, it was the marketing reason, because it's just the first time that NBA players were able to compete in the Olympics. Then in 2008 it was the Redeem Team, because in 2004 I believe it was, the United States ended up losing in the Olympics because their team just wasn't that good, and therefore once they lost the Olympics, it was you got to redeem yourself. So they just made a whole new roster for the Olympics just to try and get the gold. And then they're called the Avengers now because of how I believe it was in the FIBA basketball tournament, they did not play well at all, and they ended up losing the tournament. And so now this is just the United States way of sending in their A team, which is why they're called the Avengers. And it's just that's just how it was. And Erica Johnson in the chat, the 92 team had good players from back then. Well, every single United States team has good players on the roster. They win gold practically every single year. It's of all the teams that have NBA level talent, the United States has the most by far. And I know there's Noah Lyles, he's going to be champion of what every single time, you bring up any sort of NBA player or any sort of football player or things like that. But in a league like the NBA, a league that genuinely just plays has all of these NBA athletes, so many overseas players go over to play basketball in the NBA. So they have the right to call themselves world champions because all of the best players from the world are playing in this league. it's not like football where it's like you have just, primarily American athletes playing. Like, you have people that are raised from so many other countries playing in the NBA in one league. So, especially now where it's like the overseas talent is insane. I mean, the top 3 players in the NBA right now, they're not even from America. Like Jokic, Luka, SGA, they're all from foreign countries. Jamal Murray, also from Canada. There's just like Victor Wembanyama, arguably the best player going to be the best player in the history of basketball. Arguably could be the best player in the history of basketball. He's from France. I said he's from French. Excuse me for that. But yeah, like there's so many other athletes that are from all of these other countries that are coming to play in the NBA. So it's really like it's a big deal. And the fact that the United States, they always have the most is also a very big deal. So, and one of the biggest reasons why they're able to win the Olympics almost every single time. So, with that out of the way, that's going to be the end of the 4th segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the 5th segment where I talk about the rest of the games that are going to happen today not today, the games that are happening tomorrow, because that's when the next group of games are going to happen in the Olympics. And so I will go ahead and talk about that right after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned.